It started like any normal week. Jason had just moved into his new apartment, a quiet, slightly run-down place in an older part of town. The walls were cracked, the floorboards creaked, and the light had a habit of flickering. But rent was cheap, and for a college student, that mattered more than comfort. He wanted to give the place a touch of personality. So one afternoon, while walking past a dusty antique shop tucked between a laundromat and a pawn store, he spotted it. An old, ornate mirror. It was tall, almost as high as the ceiling, with a thick, carved wooden frame that curled like ivy around the edges. The glass had a slight golden tint to it, giving it an oddly warm glow, even under the shop's cold, fluorescent lights. The owner sold it to him for $20, said it had been in the back for years. "Doesn't even reflect right anymore," he mumbled. Jason laughed it off and took it home. He leaned it against the wall in his bedroom. For the first 2 days, it was just a mirror. He'd glance at it while getting dressed or checking his hair before heading to class. Nothing unusual, but on the third night, something changed. Jason was brushing his teeth. He glanced up and froze. In the reflection, he saw himself, of course. Same hoodie, same toothbrush in hand. But there was a hesitation, a beat before the reflection moved. It was subtle, a fraction of a second, so small he almost doubted it. He blinked, rubbed his eyes, the mirror blinked back. This time in sync, he shook his head and laughed, embarrassed. "I'm just tired," he told himself, but the next night, it got worse. The next evening, Jason sat at his desk, working on a paper. It was late, close to midnight, and the only light in the room came from his laptop screen and a dim lamp in the corner. He stretched, cracked his neck, and glanced over at the mirror. At first, everything looked fine. His reflection sat exactly as he was, hunched forward, tired eyes tapping his fingers. But then, the reflection stopped tapping. Jason was still doing it. Lightly, almost absent-mindedly, his fingers kept drumming on the desk. But in the mirror, they were still. He leaned closer. The reflection stared back. He raised his hand slowly. The reflection copied him, but just half a second too late. Jason pulled his hand back. The reflection smiled. He hadn't smiled, not even close. He jumped up, backing away from the mirror, heart pounding. The reflection followed the movement, this time perfectly in sync again. Jason didn't sleep that night. By morning, he convinced himself it was stress, lack of sleep, maybe a trick of the light. He even looked up delayed mirror reflection online, desperate for a scientific explanation. Nothing. That night, he draped a blanket over the mirror, but that didn't help, because around 3 a.m. he woke up cold, uneasy. The blanket had fallen, or been pulled down, and the mirror was uncovered again. Jason stared at it from bed. His reflection stared back and blinked, but Jason hadn't. Jason stopped looking into the mirror completely. He'd turn it around during the day, cover it with towels at night, anything to avoid seeing himself, or whatever was on the other side now. But every morning, without fail, the mirror would be back in place, uncovered, facing his bed. He lived alone. 3 nights later, something changed again. Jason was in the kitchen when he heard it. A soft, deliberate creak from the bedroom, like the floorboard right in front of the mirror. He froze. "Probably the building settling," he muttered. But his voice didn't sound convinced, even to himself. Slowly, carefully, he peeked around the doorframe. And there it was, the mirror, facing directly toward the door like it was watching for him. His reflection was standing, but he wasn't. Jason was crouched, barely peeking in. But in the mirror, he was upright, tall, still, staring straight at him, and smiling, not a warm smile, not even a cruel one. It was worse than that. It was empty. Jason slammed the door shut and pushed his dresser against it, heart racing. He didn't sleep at all. By morning, the mirror was gone from the wall. It was leaning against the opposite corner of the room, facing the bed, and something was written on the glass. A smear, faint like a finger, traced it through dust. "I see you." Jason couldn't take it anymore. That day, he tried to get rid of the mirror, hauled it down the stairs, sweating, trembling, ignoring the strange way it seemed heavier than before. as if it didn't want to leave. He dragged it out to the alley behind the building and left it by the dumpster. When he got back upstairs, it was already in his room, exactly where it had been the first day. No explanation, no sound, just there. That night, he set up his phone to record it, left it filming while he pretended to sleep, eyes barely cracked open. Hours passed. Nothing. Then, at exactly 3:17 a.m., the screen flickered. The reflection stepped forward. Not Jason, the thing in the mirror. It leaned forward until its face was almost pressed against the glass, eyes wide and unblinking. Then its hand touched the inside of the mirror and slowly began to push through. Jason screamed, lunged for the light, the bulb burst. Total darkness. When the police found the apartment the next day after neighbors reported a loud crash, the room was empty. No signs of struggle, just a shattered lamp, an overturned chair, and the mirror perfectly clean. No fingerprints, just one faint outline on the inside of the glass.